What's up guys, Americana back here with another video. I think retail has completely lost the plot. Every time retail screams that there's no alt season, I promise you it's already starting. My comments are textbook emotional bias, and this is when big moves always begin. So today I want to get into some of the things that I see people comment all the time about how I'm wrong, about how there's no alt season, about how Bitcoin's going to steal the show, this cycle is extended into 2028, altcoins won't pump until the Fed cuts rates, all of these misconceptions that retail investors currently have and that I get to see because obviously I'm the one posting these videos across 5, 6, 7 different platforms, and I read all my comments, I look at them, and I see what the common person is kind of thinking. So to give you guys the same insight that I have, I think it's super insightful about where the retail sentiment is right now. We're going to go over a couple of the common ones and just kind of disprove them or talk about them, and you guys can let me know what you guys think. But anyways, let's get into the video and we'll jump into the charts. All right, guys, first one we have is kind of the easiest one to disprove. I don't even fully believe in four-year cycle theory, but I do believe in data points. So everybody that's saying this cycle is going to extend into 2028, which would be essentially like a 5-6 year cycle, or even more than that, 7-year cycle almost, right? 2021 to 2028, there's not a single data point to support it. I fully reject it. And I promise you, if you think that's going to happen, you will be bag holding into 2028 and you will not be a happy camper. But anyways, just to kind of review it quickly, I told you I'd disprove all these. Just looking at, cycle peak to cycle peak on all of these, right? Obviously, in the earlier days of Bitcoin, these could be a little bit quicker, but they were also more volatile. And since then, they've kind of been a little bit more stable, but also more drawn out too. Okay, they don't necessarily draw out more each time, but in 2014 to 2018, we had about 1,500 day cycle. And then 2018 to the peak over here in 21, it's about 1,400 days. So if we just land somewhere in the middle, 1,450, that gets us out to about the end of October, November area, right? Which is kind of what we've been talking about. If you checked out my other videos, I don't want to just go over my entire thesis here, but just to kind of go over this one, it's a sad sight to see that so many people think this is going to happen. Institutions are here, bro. This time is different, bro. People say that here. Guess what? Most people don't know there's institutions in 2017, 2018, and everybody was excited about that. There was institutions here and here, right? Tesla added Bitcoin to its balance sheet here. Facebook pivoted to metaverse, NFTs, everything right here, and the top still came in. So promise you this time is not different, bro. That news is what gets us up here, but it also means it's the top. Okay, so be thinking ahead. If you see anybody saying this, point them my way. Say, my boy Americana will set you straight, but do not buy into this. All right, so the next misconception is alt season will not happen until the Fed cuts rates. I've showed this countless times on my channel. I've showed this countless times on my Instagram. I'm honestly getting tired of talking about it. One thing I've noticed in making this stuff is I like to say things one time. People typically end up disagreeing with me, but I don't want to really circle back to it. And I'm kind of being forced to with some of these things because I see the writing on the wall and I see the comments that I get, and I'm like, bro, I have to do something to save these people, and I will try my best. Lord knows I'll try my best, but you cannot save everybody. So if you're a longtime follower, if you're a fan of the channel or anything like that, you've already seen this chart. But anytime the Fed has started cutting rates, it means it's already over. Yes, we do each time. Look, we get a little pump here. This time we didn't quite get it, but it is what it is. A little pump here. So they technically could be right, no alt season until the Fed cuts rates, but really what it should be, if I'm even going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they're a little bit right, is the final days of alt season is when the Fed cuts rates, right? I'm not going to be sitting here selling the day that the Fed cuts the rates, but I will have likely already sold a lot of stuff, knowing that, hey, within the next 2 weeks to a month, at the most, I need to get out of the last 10 to 15% of my bags that I have left in this market. We are going to pump well before then. The Fed cutting rates has historically, if you look at the data, if you're unbiased, has been bearish for the markets. It means something is already broken. They cut most of the time because consumer confidence is lacking. Okay, so consumerism is literally what drives the American economy. Okay, we do not manufacture anything. All of our exports really are services and things like that. So we do get a lot of money to drive our own internal economy and our internal companies and things like that. We have to consume. So when consumer confidence drops, major red flag for the Fed. short form video on that this week, maybe another long form come next week or something like that on that topic. But the Fed is going to have to pivot soon, and it's not going to be because they want to. It's going to be because something has broken. Next up, and my least favorite one actually, is there's no alt season because Bitcoin dominance is high. Well, in what world does that statement actually make sense if we break it down? Bitcoin dominance has always had to go up before we can get an alt season. The only time it didn't is the first time we had altcoins, and obviously Bitcoin dominance was already up here, right? And this was like the first time we ever had altcoins in the 2014 cycle. So just looking at the two cycles that we've actually had altcoins the entire time, yes, Bitcoin dominance is high. Now let's think about where it's going to go. Is it going to go here and cycle's going to go into 2028? No, we've already shown that, right? So yeah, if it spikes, it can go as high as it wants to go because I know that it's going to come down. Bitcoin dominance being high as an argument for underperformance or no alt season is not an argument at all. It has to be high because that is what drives the momentum. The capital rotates into the altcoins. All the people that did 9, 10, 15x on Bitcoin rotate their money into altcoins, then it drops. This would be a much different conversation if we were somewhere down here, right? If we were down here and you're saying, hey, Bitcoin dominance looks like it's bottoming. Bitcoin dominance looks like it's bottoming out. I think we should rotate into Bitcoin. I don't think alts are going to be the play for however long. Yes, that would make sense. But inversely of that, Bitcoin dominance being high means Bitcoin dominance is going to be topping at some point, right? And after you already get, you can go back and look at this data, but after you get a candle like that, alts have already done 5, 10, 15x. Like you've already missed your positioning, right? Completely missed it. And this entire move that you get here, you know, maybe Ethereum has 2 or 3x left on it. Maybe Solana has 2 or 3x. Maybe XRP has 2, 3x, whatever it is, right? But this right here, that first initial move is one of the biggest moves because that's what gets people to be like, oh, alt season just got kicked off. Maybe I should buy altcoins, right? So please position ahead of it and do not use it being high as an argument that there is no alt season. It just means it is coming. And finally, just kind of to frame this up, why are people saying this? Obviously, I don't have anything against these people. I actually really appreciate any comments that I get, and I do appreciate these comments too because they're insightful to how the retail mind works, and then as well as working with a few clients to see where their portfolios were at when they came in and things like that. I know a majority of people bought the December and January top, and they have watched their altcoins bleed since then. Absolutely bleed. So they're in pain. And what happens when you're in pain? You have confirmation bias, emotionally driven logic, and kind of the belief that inversely, just like people say this time is different up here, people say this time is different down here, right? They've seen Bitcoin hold up relatively well, so they jump back in Bitcoin and they're like, well, now that I'm here, this time is different. But guess what? Now that you were here in this market here at the top in January and December, that was the top of the market. So maybe we should do the opposite of where you think you should be. Promise you, it does not have to be complicated. These people are simpletons compared to the people that make money in this market, that dedicate 12 hours a day for 6, 7, 8 years, right? Who literally stare at charts all of the time, have been through every single emotional up and down, right? It's baby food. They're baby food to me, right? So don't buy into this. You need to understand why they're saying all of these things, right? It all stems from the same logic of they bought the top. If you bought down here, you don't care. This did not faze me one bit. All I said to myself was, okay, I guess alt season's delayed a little bit, or okay, now I have more time to rotate into alts. Nice, my Bitcoin's holding up here. Perfect. I'll just shove it into altcoins down here. What a good opportunity, right? But when you put your life savings on something at the top because you think you're smart now and you think it's going to go to the moon and it dumps 60, 70, 80%, you will say and do anything to relieve that pain. But get off my soapbox. That's the why. Anyways, guys, that's going to wrap it up here. Just wanted to get into some of the comments that I've been receiving. I'm sure you've seen this on other people's videos. And just so you know, a lot of influencers, or I don't want to call myself an influencer, a lot of crypto creators, right, cater to these people. That is the root issue with this whole space, right? These creators see what their comments are saying and then create content for those comments to drive more comments that agree with them or to drive more views because it's the commonly held, I'll just call it zeitgeist of the moment, right? I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to do that to you guys. I don't care if my videos get 10 views. I don't care if my YouTube stays under 100 subscribers. I don't care if I never get more than 1,000 followers on Instagram. If that's the case, then the 1,000 people I have are going to be drastically more informed than the 100,000 that I could potentially have, right? So just keep that in mind when you see creators making content that agrees with this kind of stuff, or comments that align with this kind of stuff that I'm showing right here. It's all retail sentiment. It's not useful to you. It's not information that you need to keep or retain, or it's not people you need to follow or opinions you ever need to care about. Again, kind of getting on a soapbox, but some of the common things I'm seeing, me disproving it, and just know alt season is up next. See you guys in the next one. Peace.